Hi, I'm Dan from UK Bike Fit, and this is my sub 6 kilo Trek Emonda hill climb build. It's an amazing bike to ride up the climbs, and I'm going to take you through each component and why I built it, how I've built it for the hill climbs. So starting with the frame set, the make and model I chose was a Trek Emonda SLR Project 1. This is a 2016-2017 frame rim brake to save weight versus the disc brake versions. Picked this up second hand for a bit of a bargain. The frame itself weighs 690 grams, so it's still one of the lightest production frames that you can buy. So my biggest consideration when choosing this bike was obviously just the weight, although it is still a very stiff frame that was previously used for racing. So it still is quite good when you're putting out higher levels of power in a short hill climb. I had thought about maybe sanding the frame down to save a few extra grams, but I stopped short of going that far. It's light enough as it is. So moving to the back end of the bike and the group set, this is a SRAM Red 22 mechanical group set, minus the brakes, which we'll talk about later. But again, chose this group set mainly because it's still one of the lightest group sets that you can buy. Still running 2x on the front. It's been a while since I built this up, but when I built it, I was told by a mechanic that it would be quite tricky to get the spacing right on a 1x system, so I was stuck with 2x, which is fine. It adds a little bit of weight on, but makes it a little bit more rideable as a normal bike rather than just a hill climb bike. So weight aside, this is still a really good quality group set. It still shifts incredibly well, works incredibly well. It's very old school tech now, like obviously the group set technology has advanced so much since this was brought out, but it still works and it still functions perfectly fine. I ride bikes now with more modern group sets with Di2 or SRAM AXS, and you know, in terms of shifting performance, there's very little in it compared to technology that was out 10 plus years ago. So moving on to the wheels, and the rims that I've got are the Windspace Hyper 50 rim brake wheel set. This is one of the first ones that Windspace brought out, so these are a couple of years old now at least, and they're pretty light. They are around 1400 grams, maybe a little bit less, but from a hill climb perspective, that's not that light. There's probably like a few hundred grams I could save on the wheel set, but these wheels I just had off of a different bike, so I've kept them basically so I didn't have to buy a new set of wheels, and to get a few hundred grams off of this wheels, I'd have to spend quite a lot of money on a new set of rims. So didn't really want to do that when I was buying the bike, and these are light enough for what I'm using them for. They're quite deep sectioned, which again for a hill climb bike is pretty unusual, but again they're sort of more fit for purpose for a general riding style rather than just for hill climbs. And the tyres that I've got on the rims are the Pirelli P0 Velo TT tyres. Again, chosen because they're lightweight. Still, you know, one of the lightest tyres you can put on. A little bit less puncture resistant than other tyres, which is what makes them so light, is they're a little bit thinner casing. But again, in the purposes of saving weight, I think saving weight around your wheel and tyre, any sort of rotational weight is really important. Moving on from that, I've got Tubolito tubes in here, which are a TPU tube. Again, really lightweight, so much lighter than a normal butyl tube or even a latex tube. So the saddle on this bike might be one of the more controversial components on the bike because it is an AliExpress saddle, but it does only weigh 80 grams, and I really don't intend on spending too much time sat down on it. I really wouldn't want to ride this for any length of time on especially roads around here with a lot of potholes, but it did only cost me £25. So as you can see at the front end of the bike, we have got no bar tape on the bars, but Alex, the mechanic who built this, has put a roll of electrical tape on each side of the bar, so I'm not really sure how much weight that's actually saved. I will be taking a little bit of that electrical tape off before I actually race this bike. But other than the bar tape, we've got the Prime Primavera X-Lite bars, RIP Wiggle. Got these really cheap in the Wiggle closing down sales, so I was mega happy about that. And we have the Caloi Uno stem, which is a bit of a staple stem in the hill climb scene. It's one of the, you know, known to be one of the lightest stems that you can get for a very reasonable price again. It is an aluminium stem, but still very, very light. These are 36 centimeter handlebars, so a bit narrower than what I would normally run. But again, cutting 2 centimeters off the bars width-wise is going to save me a little bit of weight. For no real difference in ride quality, I can still ride these 36 centimeter bars perfectly fine. Lastly, about the cockpit, we have got some titanium bolts in the stem faceplate and the stem clamp, which does make a few grams of difference. So the brakes I've gone for are the Bontrager Speed Stop brakes, but there is definitely nothing stoppy about these brakes at all, which is why it spends most of its life on the wall at UK Bike Fit, because to be honest, the bike in itself, because of the brakes, is just a bit too dangerous to ride either downhill or in the wet or anything really other than up a hill. The reason I chose them though, again, is because they are very lightweight. They are a brake that was available to purchase with this frame as well, so they do fit the mounting points. But yeah, it's just a shame that they're not quite as good at stopping the bike as I would like. There are a couple of other little features that are on the bike that are obviously there to try and save more weight, like the titanium skewers that we've got on the wheels and the titanium Speedplay Nano pedals. I've also got no bottle cage bolts in there at all. As you can see, I've tried to make this bike as light as possible without breaking the bank. I think everything on here was second-hand bar the handlebars, which I got a big discount. The total amount of money that I've spent on this bike is probably just under £1,000, bearing in mind I didn't have to buy the wheels because I already had them. So assuming I brought those new, it would definitely be under £2,000 for the bike. And the total weight of the bike in this spec is 5.9 kilos, which I think is pretty reasonable without spending a whole load of cash on trying to get those extra few hundred grams that I probably could save on it, but it would require a lot more money. So that's my hill climb bike and the bike that I'll be racing this year on a few hill climbs. Let me know in the comments what you think, and let me know what hill climb bikes you guys are racing. I'll be really interested to see how yours stack up to this.